Let's get started. Welcome to Work Smarter, Not Harder in 2025 with Abacum. I'm Julie, the Director of Finance. James, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes. So I'm a solutions consultant here at Abacum, and I will be walking you through the product demo today.
Amazing. All right. Before James does that, I just want to set the scene of, why we're all here today. Let's see. Can you guys, there we go. We talk about working smarter, not harder. What does that mean for finance? I think at the end of the day, all we want to do is really spend our time here at the top of the pyramid influencing decisions, right? Like that for me is working smarter. But unfortunately, a lot of our time is spent at the bottom of the pyramid, like organizing, gathering data, cleaning it up, doing our little models and forecasts. And that for me is just busy work. So today, James is going to show you how Abacum can get rid of your busy work so you spend more time influencing the business. And then at the end, I'll cover 3 customer stories and how Abacum helped them do just that. That's all for me. And James, you can take it away.
Thanks, Julie. There we go. Awesome. So welcome everybody to Abacum. As I mentioned, I'm going to walk you through the platform demo today, and we're going to show you how finance teams leverage Abacum to streamline processes, drive performance, and, as Julie's quite rightly said, influence the business. So we're going to start off in this budget 2025 space and talk about a couple of things here, and we'll move through a number of different, maybe what we would call use cases or pieces of that are central to your kind of model. So Abacum allows you to seamlessly connect to various financial and operational data sources without manual ETL or siloed data. So we're bringing in source information directly from systems, and we can also support an unlimited number of file uploads. So Abacum can become your single source of truth. Then here we have our dimensions and data sets. Here we can manage and cleanse our data automatically, organize it into categories or dimensions, and create hierarchies to map and analyze data in the way that works best for you and your different consumers of your dashboards, reports, and spaces. Then we have our versions and models. So in Abacum, you have multiple live versions of budgets and scenarios that are always up to date, eliminating the problem of outdated copies. And your models are where we define the structure of your operating model and your reports, like your 3 financial statements and other feeder models like your headcount and revenue plan and so on. And then finally, our spaces, which we're currently sitting in right now. This is where end users collaborate, visualize data, and track performance in real time. And it's where we're going to be spending most of our time in today's product demonstration. So here is the 2025 budget dashboard, our central hub for managing the budgeting process, if you like. Now, a parent space like this one with many subspaces beneath for our different budget owners in this case allows me to manage entirely the budgeting process with a 360-degree view of different workflows and where our different budget owners are within their own respective parts of the process. Now, we also leverage many collaborative features that allow you to, again, manage this from the single source of truth. So as budget owners update their templates, the system will notify relevant users of changes to the workflow statuses via email or Slack, keeping it smooth and collaborative. Now we're going to pivot through a number of areas within the system today to show you different elements and areas that we can help optimize as part of implementing a tool like Abacum. So the first place we're going to go is into our top-down and bottom-up ARR planning with a mixture of scenarios in here. So this space is broken down into existing revenue and new acquisition revenue, among another group of other things. So I'll walk you through a consolidated view of detailed deal level planning, inbound and outbound pipeline funnels, and sales capacity planning. The purpose of this space is to allow you to align your business objectives to, the relevant users or the relevant people within the business seamlessly by giving you the opportunity to combine commercial and operational data from your CRM and your financial tools in one system, collaborating with those main stakeholders here. So at the top here, we can see our top-down target. This has been set based on our long-term plan, which has come from a different space. So our leadership team are collaborating with one another in this acquisition report space, building out a longer-term view for the business, and that's translating or cascading down through underlying spaces, subspaces, to the relevant users for them to work on their bottoms-up plans to successfully try and meet these business objectives that have been agreed at the board level. So an example, and the example that we have built out in this demo flow, is that we have a goal of doubling revenue next year, and we've broken down how we're going to target this revenue achievement into channels thanks to dimensionality here. So we can see that we are roughly targeting a 40-60 split between inbound and outbound pipe. And based on some historical analysis, we understand that we need roughly 4x pipe to meet our targets. So this is setting us a clear path forward for achieving those objectives at the top level. So if we now transition to our bottoms-up forecasting, this has given our kind of go-to-market team, RevOps team, the insights they need to go into their planning process. And what we're doing here, I've zoomed in quite a bit, so hopefully you can see everything I have on my screen, is we're pulling in pipeline data directly from our CRM. So in this example, it's Salesforce, but this is providing us very granular detail at the deal level with which to translate into our plans. So this data has been automatically cleaned and sorted so that we can create views such as this, where we're organizing by deal stage. This is a decision that we've made to forecast and plan at this level. Of course, with Abacum's unlimited dimensionality, we can go to lower levels of detail if you're looking to manage these kind of pipeline views all the way down at that deal level. So if I drill into our base case pipeline here, weighted amounts being pulled in directly from Salesforce with their deal stages. We can also see really good granular information about these that's again helping inform us in our plans. So we can see where this opportunities come from, what product line they're using or looking to purchase, and then down to that deal level. We've even gone to further levels, and we're using this in a separate space to help build out our billings and cash collections views and projecting those out. So you'll see here what we're doing is we're not only surfacing a single scenario. We have our base case, our bull case, and our bear case. And again, these are all pulling in the same pipeline unweighted from Salesforce. And what we've done, what we've kind of translated here across these scenarios is that on the base case, it's taking the default weighting from Salesforce, and we're then seeing our weighted pipeline with some nice surplus deficit versus our top-down target at the bottom here. And what we're doing with our bull and bear case is allowing our end users to interact with the dimensionality that we've exposed here, being at the deal stage level. Again, this could be at the individual deal level, just a matter of setup. And they're able to override the weightings that we have here and see that translated in real time into what effect that's going to have on our weighted pipeline, how that's going to impact our surplus deficit reporting against our top-down target here. So we can adjust all three of these live within a space and override these possibilities if needed to get a clearer picture of how each scenario impacts our revenue targets. Again, this is kind of a quite a unique feature within the FP&A space, the ability to directly stress test, hypothesis test live within the tables that you've surfaced in the spaces. Okay, so we've had a quick look there at one type of ARR or revenue planning. I'm going to pivot now to headcount planning just because of time. I think we could maybe take a look back at the sales capacity plan, depending on how we're looking at the back end of this, because we want to cover a number of different topics in the session. Now, let's dive into headcount planning. As I say, one of the most crucial aspects of any financial strategy. And again, in here, you'll see this concept of parent spaces and subspaces, the subspaces being used for our hiring leaders to come into the tool and provide their inputs around any headcount based change, be that new forecasted hire, change in department, and so on. Now, looking at this high level overview of our headcount plan, here we have our employee roster being surfaced to us for the entire year at the bottom. And we've kind of separated this out as we move from our actuals to our working forecast into current headcount and then our new joiners and leavers. And how we're able to do this is essentially just pulling data directly from HRIS or from source system. This is taking information all the way down at the individual employee level, and Abacum is able to not only show us or surface to us our current roster, but also use the dates that it's seeing in the HRIS tool to automatically project forward our kind of roster moving forwards. And then what we're doing is layering on top of that inputs from our hiring leaders in their own respective spaces. So if I drill down through our new joiners here into underlying levels of detail, I can see here that there's a couple of sales hires being forecasted towards the middle of the year. And again, we can get down into further level of detail and granularity. This is probably more important to now shift to is looking at the actual cost elements themselves. So of course, on the total headcount cost side, from an actuals perspective, this is being pulled from HRIS, giving us really good detail and granularity at this parent space level. And then when we switch to forecast, what we're then doing is we're able to either utilize a pay matrix or take base salaries, variable comp information from our hiring leaders, depending on your current processes, to enable us to build out those forecasts collaboratively with the wider team. And what Abacum is then doing is utilizing formulas in the back end in our models, which we touched on earlier, to calculate out the downstream costs based on some key data points that we're capturing from our individual hiring leaders, such as their location and, as I mentioned, their compensation and variable comp. So I'm just going to switch from here into one of our underlying spaces. Again, a real focus in on sales here as we're talking about revenue growth. What we've essentially surfaced as part of this reforecasting process mid-year with our sales team is the ability for them to immediately understand how they're performing, surfacing insights that are updating automatically as and when we sync automatically with the source systems. And we can give them really good granularity, again, based on or down to a level of detail that they should be seeing. And we can see here that they're currently looking at being around 2% over budget for 2024, but we can see again these kind of collaborative features there. They've given an explanation as to why this is, and this is based on our lofty ARR ambitions as a company. They've identified that from matching their bottoms up plan to our top down plan, that we need more account executives towards the middle and back end of the year to meet those objectives. So you can see here how those collaborative features, again, kind of notify people across the business and allow the finance team to business partner more effectively without using multiple or disparate tools. So in this space, we've mentioned they can perform performance evaluation with good detail. And then what they're also able to do in this second part of their workflow process that we've lined out for them is provide inputs for any changes, any new hire requests, whatever that may look like. We've embedded a nice instructional video for them to guide them through this process. And essentially what they're doing here is similar to this pop-up panel we saw when we were changing the weighted probabilities of our opportunities. Here we have a list of all of our requests that have gone to the finance team for approval. So we'll see here that essentially if I were to add a new row as a sales leader, this is defaulting to requested. And I am essentially, this is forcing it through a process before it rolls out into our operating plan or our working forecast. So let's take another switch to our OPEX planning. Again, just trying to cover off a number of pieces before we run up on time today. Now, what we're going to do here is talk about a couple of other features of Abacum, not only the ability to, collect or gather your data and automatically clean it for you to present data that's ripe for analysis. But in here, we can talk about a couple of other features such as AI forecasting, AI planning, and AI summaries. And again, just show the flexibility of the tool, right? So we have our marketing budget owners space here, and again, surfacing very good detail to them with regards to how they're performing versus budget or versus their forecast. We're seeing this all the way down at the individual supplier or vendor level. And a couple of things to mention here. Prior to shifting into 2024's forecast, we of course went through a budgeting process in 2023, and we had populated the actual inputs based on historical data to provide our marketing budget owner with essentially not a blank canvas to work with. So based on their spend the prior year, what should they be projecting into 2024 as spend? And this is all driven by AI functionality. Again, provides them with something to work with, and they can override those fields or cells as required. And this is what's kind of informed or built out the budget. And then we've shifted that into being our forecast as we move forward into the next year. And this is, again, through us taking so much of the manual effort out of gathering, collecting, presenting your data, into actually being able to automate that and focus in on, aligning the business with their performance and tying them more closely to their objectives. Okay, so one more space I'm going to go through, and I think we've got a couple of minutes at the back end. I'm not sure if I'm ahead of time now. I'm lost on. I've got about 5 minutes left, Julie.
Yep.
We're up until past, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, if you need a couple more minutes, that's fine as well.
Got it. Okie doke. So let's pivot to another space. And again, this is continuing that topic of that transition from the planning phase, which we have super powerful features around, which we just saw, enabling you to manage this from a single space, to once that budget is set for the year, ensuring that doesn't just become a static object, translating it into a working forecast, and then again leveraging the automation to tie the business more closely to monitoring their performance. So in here we've got a performance review, again, where we've kind of pivoted our 2024 plan into our working forecast, and we're surfacing many different insights here, really focusing on our key metrics or North Star metrics as an organization. So as we can see, our ARR bridge in this table, and also our net dollar retention. Again, just a couple of things to note in here, that this is not just surface level information. We are then able to drill down through underlying levels of detail here. Okay. A couple more metrics, and I think where we may have missed out on the time that I thought we didn't have was the sales capacity piece. So we're going to just jump back and walk through that here. Cool. So this is our sales capacity plan here. And again, some real nice pieces of automation. This headcount input on our base case and our bull case is actually coming from our HRIS data. And then, sorry, this is our forecast. So this is being overlaid into by the inputs from our sales leader in this space, right? So we have the ability for our sales leader to directly within this space not only interact with their sales capacity plan across multiple scenarios and understand how that's going to drive their performance, but also this is linked directly to the headcount plan, again, with those approvals in place over, in this case, most likely just the base case forecast, as we tend to see our customers using an additional scenario in instances like this as kind of like a sandbox area for, again, their end users to use to stress test any changes in their assumptions and inputs. So we can see here our sales leader planning for expansion into a new office, as well as increasing the headcount across a number of our different offices worldwide. And Abacum is then kind of progressing through this driver tree model in which we've got our ramped AEs, which Abacum is handling automatically in the back end through our calculation logic. It's essentially translating like a 2-month into our AEs, and this we're then planning for their quota across locations, and then again at lower levels of granularity. This is intended to be at the level of which market they're going after, or which kind of target segment of our customers. So depending on whether they're going after SMB, mid-market, or enterprise type organizations, that of course will inform our sales leader or go-to-market team as to what level of quota they should be looking to achieve. And then again, we can use that sort of granularity, location-based, tied in with the segments that they're going after in that example I gave, to plan for attainment. And this is giving us our bottoms-up new ARR target, again, which would be able to split down into that lower level of granularity with some nice surplus deficit in there too. So I think that will just about cover it for a demonstration in today's session. Hopefully from this, you've been able to see how we can help gather, organize, and analyze data. And this is made seamless with Abacum, with significant reductions in manual effort and features that will enable you to enhance collaboration and surface insights to allow you to work smarter and influence the business moving forwards. Thank you for today's session. I'll now pass over to Julie to address any questions. And if you are keen on getting a deeper insight into the tool moving forwards, please do feel free to reach out in the chat. Over
Thanks so much, James. Yes, so I'm going to be sharing with you guys a couple of customer stories on how they went from bottom of the pyramid to top of the pyramid. If you do have any questions, please feel free to post them and we'll try to get to them. Otherwise, you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. All right, so the first one is we're talking about Kenjo. They are HR software based out of Germany. And essentially, we help them reduce their forecasting cycle time by 70%. So traditionally, it took them, 8 weeks or almost 2 months to do a forecast cycle, which means you're giving your stakeholders information 2 months too late, right? And after they purchased Abacum and started implementing, they even discovered that there was some miscalculations in their files, that they were presenting incorrect information as well. And basically what Abacum helped them do was to establish a rolling forecast by cost center. So James shows you guys how Abacum is multidimensional. That means that every budget owner had their own private space to collaborate with the finance team, look at their expenses, look at their contributions to the top line. So if we think about what that did for Kenja's finance team, essentially, of course, we did all the automation around gathering and organizing, but fundamentally, we helped them fix the errors that they were, kind of carrying forward in their spreadsheets. We allowed them to present information on time, which makes it more relevant for their stakeholders. And when you think about how you actually influence the business, well, if you're giving people the right information at the right time, that's how you build trust and help your stakeholders make right decisions. Then another company called Flipside Crypto. So they're doing, end-to-end FP&A within our platform, but I wanted to point out especially the fully collaborative headcount planning that they're now able to do within our platform versus kind of like Excel hell, sharing different tabs, making sure not to share salary information with one person and trying to gather everything and working with multiple files, multiple versions that none of them tied to each other in the end. So of course, with Abacum, you have fully integrated headcount planning, fully permissioned. And again, of course, we're helping you gather the assumptions with permissions. Of course, it's organizing, but now you're also able to analyze the downstream impacts, right? Like when you make headcount, let's say requests in certain areas, how does that impact, either revenue or cash or whatever, some operating metric? At the end of it, you have everything fully connected. They're not like 10 separate files living disjointed. Again, presenting information with permissions. And essentially, Ryan was able to influence the growth of the company because headcount was, one of their biggest levers. I do see some questions rolling in. I will get to it. And the last one, I promise, is Logify. So they do B2C rental business software. So imagine you own some properties and want to rent them through like Airbnb and Booking and everything. So with B2C, oftentimes we find that spreadsheets just can't handle your model anymore, especially if you want to do like a lot of driver-based modeling, right? Like you're going to run out of, it's either going to be super slow or you're going to have to make some roll up of your data to, and not really be able to forecast at that most granular level, which they wanted to do for the revenue. So with obviously Abacum, they were able to do revenue forecasting at a much more granular kind of like bottoms up level with a lot of their customer data. And so this one, of course, is more bottom of the pyramid, but just it's black or white, right? Like they weren't able to do revenue modeling before in a spreadsheet, at least not at the level they wanted to. And now with Abacum, of course, they can. And by doing that, of course, you can climb the rest of the pyramid and actually influence their revenue decisions. That was all I had in terms of sharing for today. We do have a number of questions. What is the process for, so okay, that's all straightforward. Yes, what is the process for dealing with business model forecasting that is continually evolving and not necessarily static from one year to the next? This is manageable in Excel as you build out that new component of model and link it in, but how does Abacum account for this? That is a great question. James, do you want to tackle this one? Because I see you smiling, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I've had a chance to read it for longer than you as well. So honestly, very similar to what you've just described in Excel, right? In that your model building is very similar to a spreadsheet in that you can create whatever you want, and you would build out those new components of your model in an existing spreadsheet or tab, which you might liken it to in Abacum, and then link that to the actual operating model as and when it makes sense. So yeah, I guess short answer is very similar to how you would do it today, but would be more than happy to show you that in more detail. I understand that you've not seen the actual models being built themselves today.
Yeah.
That's the only question I can see in chat, Julie. I'm not sure if you had more on your side.
No, I don't have anything coming in through private or comments. So, I mean, if that's it, I think we'll thank you guys for attending and see you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.